Men can't eat brunch.
Yeah.
Men.
I saw some girl share a status that said she can't respect a man that orders pink lemonade.
Yeah, I've seen boneless wings. And in a nutshell, I guess manhood is just, only you could do is make money, kill things, and have sex. So we really want to show guys the positive outlook of how manhood could look and how developing and respecting women could look and how working in the community and helping the community could look.
I think
So,
that's really important because right now, especially in society, we hear so much about toxic masculinity, but we don't ever get examples of positive masculinity.
yeah.
Or if even if they are out there, we don't. It's not promoted the way that it should and could be.
And the statement toxic masculinity in itself is weird because none of them things like identify manhood. Uh, so it's kind of like you taking things that aren't manhood and then labeling it associated with manhood.
Right.
Because you never hear like toxic femininity when somebody burns a car down, right?
Right.
Because that's not what being a woman is about. So yeah, I think we have to really be careful with how we choose to say certain words and certain language because that's not what a man is at all. At the end of the
Words
day.
shape thoughts, and thoughts become actions, right? So the
CBT.
verbiage that we use is so important. I think that so we have weekly live stream call-ins. Different people who have been associated with the network in different ways. Now that you are sitting down doing an episode with us, I would definitely want to invite you in. On some future live streams that we do. For example, last night we had one of my guys who's also he works in violence prevention. He spent a long time in his life in the streets, and now he is actually working for non-for-profits. The Institute for Nonviolent Chicago. There's quite a few of them that are working. He works in Uptown and Rogers Park, but then I also had a gentleman that's a teacher, and I had a gentleman that is Instructor Mike. We actually just released his episode last night, and he was a cop for 10 years. Before that, he was military, and now he runs a firearm safety and concealed carry license class right out south. And we were all having a conversation about the necessity. Is it actually necessary to have police in schools? And there were some varying opinions, but before I really get into that, where's your opinion on the role that police play with our youth, specifically in the schooling system?
So, and I'm a very transparent person. So with my full-time job, we've had like circles with the mayor and police officers, right? And this was my issue with the conversation. The conversation was always about what the youth can do to avoid getting killed or going to jail, right? But it never placed any type of
accountability
on the police officers, right? And I'm mature enough to not be out here saying all police are evil and stupid. That's not the case, right? But there is a structure that was built. The historical creation of police was never really for us. And there are police officers inside the force that are black and brown that are really fighting the system. Or they assimilate to it and become one of those people that you really don't want.
Right, because a lot of times people shed whatever their cultural background is and you
It
become
is.
blue.
Groupthink is real.
Right.
Groupthink is real. If you're a teacher, you probably don't like the mayor right now, right?
Or a cop.
Right.
There's actually a lot of people who don't really mess with light feet.
Groupthink is real. If you're in the streets, you probably definitely hate 12. It's a part of the culture. But to answer your question, I've seen policing done differently. Like I went to NIU, and community policing was a big thing. Where they talk to the students, they might have gave you a ride to class, they might have bought you lunch, and when we did get in trouble, because trouble was going to exist, the conversation was different. And there's plenty of times where, hey, can y'all do me this favor? Cool, no problem. When you know what you're dealing with, it changes things. So
when you use the verbiage community police, now what I envision is community taking upon self to police community. For example, the way that all of what we understand today as gangs, they didn't start the way that they are today.
Yeah.
So
that is an aspect of community policing. What I mean is
police actually being members of community,
being involved in the community.
Okay.
Because what happens is, in all honesty, everything can change with relationships. Like everything. I've talked to some of the most racist people in the world and gained a different understanding because of the conversation. Prior to that, it was like, this is an enemy. I should probably shoot them first, right?
I like to talk more so with people that I disagree with or I think that I have nothing in common with, because more that often than not, there's something to learn.
Yeah. Because the reality is, in the world, no matter what your stance is, you have intelligent people, you have not so intelligent people. And on every aspect of the spectrum, I don't care if it was the top KKK member, the top GD, like, you're going to have some people that are very smart. Right? And they'll come together and they might have different opinions, but it makes some type of sense.
You can't run hundreds or thousands of people without
exactly.
some type of intellect.
Then you got some people that is idiots that just say whatever on social media, right?
In all facets, whether that be law enforcement or in the streets.
Exactly. Like, so that's just what it is. So I definitely listen, because you can't, life is chess. You can't really win without listening to the opponent or understanding how they move. But to answer your question about police officers in schools, I don't mind an officer being there. Like, I went to Hyde Park, we got really wild all the time. I did pretty much like the officers at the time because of what I was doing, But I can see why they're needed, but at the same time, I think their approach in the school should be different. I don't think that you should view them as an enemy, but that's really based on a relationship the cop has with the kids.
That's a reoccurring conversation here on Real Talk Chicago. A buddy of mine, shout out to the homie Channing Harris. Go back and check out his episode. XMO, Excuse Me Officer, is the name of an app that he has developed. And the purpose is initially to bridge the gap between community and police. And how he's doing that is by creating a platform in which all interactions that people have with law enforcement, good or bad, you can have one centralized database and people can talk about those interactions. I think that that's really important because, as you were talking about the community policing aspect, here now we have added a layer where we can easily identify, okay, this cop seems to stop a lot of 5'4" women of a certain shape or women of a certain look.
Right.
He seems to have a preference in who he decides to stop. Or, you know what, this cop has a lot of positive interactions. His partner has a ton of complaints, so it's not both of them. It becomes a little bit easier to identify, and it allows community to see who you should be out on the lookout for and why you shouldn't just persecute all cops. The way that I say it here, like you in the past, based on the stuff that I was doing, I felt the type of way about law enforcement in general. Now, the way I look at it, like every other, if you got 10 people in any job anywhere, I think that 2 of them are absolute stellar employees. 5 of them are really just there to get a check. And then 3 of them are absolute shitheads.
And in some places, it might be a little bit more. But to your point, and that's why, when people talk about defunding police, I wanted to know how that would look. Because my bachelor's in political science, and I spent 5 years studying systems and studying people and stuff like that. And I watched a lot of post-apocalyptic shows. Like, I'll watch The Walking Dead, or I'll watch, I forgot the name of it, and I love this show. The show where they came from space and they had to come to Earth. That name of the show is in the back of my head. But I watch a lot of shows that aren't in our current structure. But if you realize that no matter what it is, you need some type of order. Right?
Walking Dead shows you that really well, because you would think that the show's about the dangers of the zombies, and it's not. People are the problem.
We're always the problem, right? Because you have to have structure, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you have officers that are going unchecked and are able to do so much dirt, it's kind of like, yeah, they're going to do what they want to do because they can get away with it.
Right. So I got a stat from my boy Channing when we were doing our episode, and I think he said like upward of 90% of all police complaints go unanswered for lack of evidence.
Because there's no system. I mean, and this is why I laugh, because, people who aren't officers, I don't think if they were in charge, they'd become better people, right? I mean, you look at the city and the culture, you look at the PPP loan, most of that is fraudulent, right? But if you get away with it, you're going to do it, because that's human nature.
So here's the thing that I just don't understand about it, and I know a bunch of people who have gotten it. I'm not a fan of the system, so I really don't care about it being a scam. Now, as a taxpayer and as a small business owner, I look at things, a certain type of way now in my adult life, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the system. So, hey, Uncle Sam been getting down on people for a long time, get down on him. But why set yourself up for failure? Why are you going to go buy a car and go on trips to Miami and have a especially hot girl summer, as opposed to actually using some of them funds to try to kick something off that you wouldn't have had the funds to do otherwise. Everybody got a passion.
So a lot of people who I work with, this is what they say, and unfortunately, there's some truth behind it. They say that if you gave everybody, if you started the whole world over, you gave everybody $25K, $100K, whatever the case may be, they say more often than not, those who were rich will become rich again, and those who were poor will become poor again.
There's a saying that my dad used to tell me all the time: a fool and his money will soon be apart.
Right, because it's and poverty is real. Like, I've been in poverty, right? But I learned this too, that most of us, the more money we make, the more expenses we incur. Right. Or accrue. And I'm also been guilty of this. I'm just better at investing than blowing the money.
You understand the concept of assets and liabilities.
Yeah, but when I start making more money, I got a car note, right? But I also do car rentals to cover that car note. So I'm able to balance it out. But the average person isn't. A lot of us live in the moment, which I get. Life is short, especially to be black. You never know what's going to happen. And the older you get, now you got different health things. You had COVID come out of nowhere. We used to people getting shot, but now we're dealing with other things that take us out. So I get the reality of like spending that money and blowing it. I think certain people have to figure out what they're living for. For me, it's not necessarily for me. I want my family to not have to go through that again, right?
See, now you are talking about what was originally a tenet of masculinity, which is men don't do things for their first name. They do things for their last name.
Yeah.
And you're talking about legacy building.
Exactly.
That's the same, my motivation.
Exactly. So back to the point of like humans being corrupt and it being natural, even my community service does come from a point of selfishness, because my biggest fear is not necessarily dying, but being forgotten, right? So I feel like the more I put into this world, the more I'll be remembered.
Do you feel as though there's an aspect of, and just so you know, I'm right there with you. That's why I do what it is that I do. You know, if I was to go out tomorrow for some reason, my son would have, hundreds of hours of me to get to know me. And I do understand, when you said a certain aspect of that is selfishness. What do you think it is in us that drives that need to not be forgotten?
That's a good question, because everybody doesn't have it. I do think certain aspects of manhood are embedded in us, like, hey, this is a part of your life, should be leaving their legacy. Because if not, like, why else are you here?
Right.
And I'm not the most religious, so I don't necessarily know if I believe that, hey, I'll be reincarnated, or, hey, I'm going to a place after this. I don't know that. Nobody's ever come back and told me. So
I had an atheist tell me one time, being an atheist is kind of a shitty situation, because if you're wrong, then you're fucked. And if you're right, nobody knows.
Right.
So yeah.
It is what it is. And, in this life, everybody pick different paths, different beliefs, stuff like that. And I don't really judge people's beliefs. That's just not my thing, because we all come from different backgrounds, right? But I don't know, man. It is something. And everybody's not really stuck on legacy building. Some people live for themselves in the moment. It might be something I got from my parents. It might be something I heard. Or it might be just something internal in me, or innate in me, like, hey, man, you have to put in this work now. And that's why my whole IG name is My Vision Lives. I know the things I create are going to live longer than my physical form. So that's why I'm so big on the community aspect and creating the brands and really giving back, because that's the only way you can really last forever.
And I agree with you, which is why I'm perfectly fine sitting behind the cam. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who get into media in any facet are looking to be internet stars and stuff like that.
Right.
I want to work. I want to do business. I want to network. I want to build something. But I'm perfectly fine with my name just in the credits. Like somebody else's face can go there. Now, this all leads to, we were just really getting into your background a little bit. I know you say you're from the East Side. So when you say East Side, so a lot of people who aren't from Chicago, or a lot of people who never go past Roosevelt, a lot of North Siders never go south of Roosevelt. A lot of South Siders never go north of North Ave. When you say East Side, this is a specific segment of Chicago that we do happen to touch on Real Talk Chicago, because, East Side crazy, because East Side raised me, right? East Side, what was that like growing up for you? And when we say East Side, when you take Lakeshore Drive all the way south. You get just past the Museum of Science and Industry. There's an entire segment of the city where it's so far east, those streets don't come north. And this is actually 70, 80 years ago where a lot of the Jewish people and stuff used to live. I had a Spanish teacher in high school told me she used to live on like 76 and Phillips. And she was a tiny little 4'10" Jewish lady.
And people are moving back into that area now because it's by the lake.
Right, it's lakefront property.
You know, when they push themselves to the suburbs, and this happens a lot of cities, they're like, you know what, we gave the niggas the best real estate.
Right.
You know, right. So what do we do now?
Red line.
Yeah, like, wait a minute, let's come back. Even in New York, they realized that the projects were overlooking the whole city.
Right.
And they're like, wait a minute, we need that property back. So
right here in Chicago, the projects that they took down, literally, what's that now? South Loop?
Yeah. It was like right there. So growing up over East was, man, and bring about moments, because this is my first time ever not being on the east side of the Dan Ryan in my life. Being a youth, navigating that space, I think prepared me for a lot. Especially, you know, navigating that space and then being caught, you know, in gang activity, not being caught, like, it's decisions I made as a young man that I was conscious of.
Falling for the trap.
Right, you know. And a lot of it was survival, too. You know, over East, we were big for passing the time. Like, when you're in poverty, you figure out what's fun for you. Right. So that might have been cops and robbers as a kid or hooping, or it might have been pointing around, knock them out, right?
Could have been video games.
Right.
A lot of people don't choose that.
You know, and we played that too. I think as a kid, like, we really touched, we tried everything. We tried everything.
Everything you had access to.
Everything. That might have been playing the PlayStation, or that might have been drug dealing.
Right.
So it's all in one environment. And youth experiment. Babies experiment in the house when they start touching shit and playing with shit. As a kid growing up, you're going to experiment with what's in your environment. Right. And when you're around that, that's what happens.
What about that experience made you feel the need to give back to community?
Man, everything about it. Like, I think what really made me dive deep into the streets was the fact that when I was a kid, like, I didn't have like a older brother or a younger brother. Like, I had to fight.
You an only child?
I'm not, right? And we get to that later. But at the time, like, my sister is 6 years younger than me. Okay. I have a brother that's a year younger than me, but I met him when I was like 24.
Okay, so effectively you're the only boy.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But like, I do have a brother that I met in my adult years. But yeah, it was crazy. So like, I had to fight the guy I got into it with. His older brother, his younger brother. And in the 90s, like, the anti-bullying thing didn't come about to, 2006 or 7, you know, somewhere in that time.
I didn't even know it was that early.
Yeah,
like,
it probably wasn't.
Because I was actually just listening to Judge Joe Brown and Kwame Brown right before we actually came in here, and one of the things Judge Joe Brown was saying, it used to be a time where learning about masculinity was things like, okay, I might have to get my ass whooped right now, but I'm about to stand up to this bully. And that's not, now it's just, oh, people shouldn't bully. Right. But that's not the reality of how
But life is going to bully you, right? And when I was, you know, getting jumped and fighting a lot, my mother, who's a young parent, can't do so much, they were focused on the bullying, not bullying me. They weren't focused on building my confidence, my self-esteem. And I didn't know I could fight till like 7th grade, 6th grade, right? I didn't realize, like, okay, I could, you know, and that's when it was like, all right.
Hands work.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? So that's when around high school, like, I might have lost 1 or 2 fights out of like 8 or 9. But it's like, that's
pretty
when I was.
Good ratio.
Right, that's why I was like, okay, I could defend myself.
Right.
Had I had that same comments as a kid, the bullying wouldn't have been the same. Or I would have been worried about. We all know how this works in the hood. Like, you know who to mess with, who not to mess with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's when I went to school, I probably picked 3 fights on purpose at the beginning. September, October, let me get this out of the way now. Because I know the system now. I know that people are going to try me down the line. Let me nip this in the bud right now.
You ever seen the movie The New Guy? That's what this reminds me of.
But that's the reality, though.
Right.
Like, you need to be able to set examples early, and so people understand it. But as a youth in Chicago, we all know this. Right. People know who they're going to mess with. They know who not to mess with. You know what I'm saying?
Now, sometimes there's a surprise. So I'm aware how I look. I just happen to be 6'2". So, you know, being 6'2" and black, most of the time you getting like people aren't looking at you like an immediate victim. I'm also skinny and wear glasses, and I wasn't always 6'2". I got put in martial arts early. I remember the kids on the east side making jokes about it. Yeah. But jokes are one thing. You have a different level of confidence when you're not afraid to get punched in the face.
But when people are smart, they know a a nigga who you might view as a nerd who knows karate, you're not gonna fuck with him. Right. Like I can recall niggas be like, and any little thing in the hood will get spread around. Oh, he know boxing. Oh, he got a metal plate in his hand or his jaw.
Right.
Oh, this nigga know karate. It's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna leave him alone. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna wait till I see him fight somebody else.
Right. Let me see what's up. He might not have to ever fight because ain't nobody really gonna pull it because they don't want to know.
Right.
So, and I think that's how it is. Anyone in Chicago, I think what made the East Side what it was is that I feel like the East Side was like super grimy growing up. Like you had people who love their niggas real tight, and everybody else is whatever. It was fair game.
Yeah.
And it was what it was.
There was grown men that would make children victims.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I remember people pulling that, oh, you got to change 420, you got to change.
Yeah.
So you could rob me?
And you have to learn early. Like my first time riding a bike for real, I rode a bike with a friend last week, and I was laughing because I remember being on 78th and Saginaw, and I had my bike. I was like 12, and some grown-ass niggas tried to take my bike. They had me like 18, 19, 20. Yeah. I'm 12, and I had stopped riding the bike then.
At that age,
like
75th and Crandon, I got robbed by like a 18, 19-year-old for my phone.
Yeah. I got robbed for a damn bus car before, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like,
I know
after
somebody
a while,
got held at gunpoint over East for a bus car, 2 of those quarter juices and like 50 cents.
Yeah, so it was a part of the community and the culture.
Right.
And after a while, what got me into the streets was like, you don't want to be that victim anymore, right? And you got to start playing chess now, you know? And then, to be honest, like all the dirt I did and the people I might have hurt during that time in my life would made me really want to get back to the community.
Okay. And I think that that's a common thing. Like I talked to a lot of guys who spent their time in the streets, realized what it is, and now seek out giving back to community. One of the guys I did a podcast with, shout out to Chris 21 Patterson. He, long story short, robbed a bank, did a 10-year Fed bid, but while in jail got a patent for some window tint application that I think the military uses, and then now he like flips property.
You got to take them blessings, right?
Right.
Because out of all my homies, I'm one of the only ones who never really got a record from anything we did.
You got lucky.
Right. So like I was at NIU, I had survivor's remorse. My homies are sending me like 2-page legal pad notes from jail. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, damn, like I'm here with all this opportunity and all these women, and my homie locked up. A
lot of these homies are people who do the same stuff you was doing when you was in the streets, right?
And I really like felt like, damn, why me? So I feel like it's definitely my duty and my job to tell my students the real and what's really going on. Like I'm not a mentor that sugarcoat shit.
Is that why you felt the need to go to school and finish?
Absolutely. So originally I wanted to be a lawyer, and my idea was like, I'm finna go become a lawyer, and I'm gonna help my niggas out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though we doing whatever, like I'm finna give them the game. I didn't think about youth engagement and all the other shit till I was already in school. And then I saw, you know, I always been in a leadership position, no matter if I was on the block or in school. Okay, it's hella transferable skills. If I tell people, I'm like,
leadership is leadership.
The shit you doing right now, like the motherfucker who's stealing money from their company for $4 million, they're doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. You know, it's different red and different game, but it's the same. It's the same rules. Trust me. So
taking initiative, still that $4 million from the company.
So when I got to school, I started thinking about like how much opportunity people don't have in the city and how many traps are in place.
Are you familiar with the terminology survivor's remorse?
Yes.
Do you feel as though when you were watching your boys go down?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because I had family, and I call it my family, like they was in and out. You know? And I was going through my struggles in college, of course, because college students go through struggles. Right. But it was different.
You ate a lot of ramen noodles.
Right. I mean, we might have been in the same size rooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have had a celly. You know what I'm saying? Right. But nah, my homies was really.
But you can leave.
Right. They was really in there with guys who didn't like them. You know, they really had to. Now being black and being leadership at NIU was a different type of beast because I'm at the PWI. And they looking like, who's this nigga in charge of this?
Predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
For those who are not aware.
So in the NIU, our culture was different. We had a good amount of black people, but we were still outnumbered. But
there's a lot of hood niggas. I came up there probably while you were there, you know, to kick it with some people that I knew.
It's different. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
You know, and my man, because I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was gonna be in there playing hacky sack with flip-flops on and sandals, you know what I'm saying? But when I got there, I had met niggas from out west, up north, out south, everywhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay, but it's still a different environment to help develop you. And I did get put on a lot of stuff, like I learned how to read constitutions and contracts and I learned a lot of different things. So yeah, I had hella survivor's remorse because I didn't know why me. Right. Like, why me? And then especially you hear about people dying in the city and you got to make a decision like, do I want to come back home and get involved in this, or do I want to stay where I'm at and keep moving? And it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
You brought up people dying, and you know we're to some young guys, to youth, a little bit older cats, not old yet. I think about how many acquaintances I've had that have fall victim to Chicago violence in my life, and I posted a status the other day. I was thinking, I was in Belize a couple years ago. My father's from Belize. I was in Belize a couple years ago with my wife, and we were watching the news on Sunday, and they did like all the names of all the people who had died that week. They played it on TV, and I was just like, we're so desensitized here. That list would be so long here, and we are so last weekend 50-something people got shot.
Mm-hmm.
We're so desensitized here. I don't even know that people would care to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like we kind of have accepted death as a part of urban culture, wherein it does not have to be. We are normalizing intense trauma. You know what I'm saying? People who go to the military,
mm-hmm.
they take these, however long you may go, 4 years, 8 years, 6 years, things like that. And then you come out and you have an opportunity to come back to real life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you may need some counseling, but you're outside of the war zone. Outside of people like you who choose to give back, people like the other people I have on the network who work in nonviolence or community organizing, there's not a ton of outlets for people to kind of move outside of that perpetual trauma and the mentality, because so many, like when everybody's broke and everybody's in these situations, that groupthink thing, we circle back to that groupthink thing we talked about. What do you think we can do about this perpetual trauma and this mentality?
I'm going to speak on this, and I'm going to give you my point of view on it, because I'm going to compare even 08 to now, right? Mm-hmm. Especially the 90s to now. In the 90s, the gang culture existed for a few things. Protecting, you know what I'm saying? And they were getting paid real money, right?
Yeah.
Like the drug trade was,
could actually
you watch Snowfall and see what happened. But it was, these organizations were structured for the community and to make money. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the government played a big role in a lot of our gangs going to war and being opponents and opposition, stuff like that. But that was the structure of the game. It was for money.
Right.
Now we're at a point now where the shorties are not gang banging for income.
No, it's clout.
They're doing it for pride and clout. And I learned this about young men. The male ego is real, right? We have to feel important in some aspect. Mm-hmm. So some of us got lucky enough to be hoopers and be good at it. Mm-hmm. I'm a hoop. Some might even become rappers and musicians. Now it's kind of hard to differentiate between the rappers and the street niggas, because in Chicago we become one and the same. Mm-hmm. Some have that talent, right? We have to expose youth to as much as possible to figure out where that power comes from. Mm-hmm. For example, I took some shorties golfing. Half my group didn't even come. I had like 5 or 6 come out of like 30, 40, right?
That's also because we don't have that value play. We don't know in urban community that $1 million deals get made on the golf course.
But and even that, like behind the scenes, like people are getting paid off podcasts or writing scripts, right? But so the thing about it is the outlets are there. The people who plugging it in aren't there, right? So you got me, who I'm like, I know what I learned, and I don't know everything, but I know more than my students. So let me expose you to this. I had kids who were actually good at fucking playing golf, like naturally. It was crazy.
And they didn't know.
They didn't know.
They would have never known had you not taken them.
So the thing about it, the disconnect is not even the opportunities. It's us, because a lot of us run from the city, which I understand. Everybody not built for this shit. People look at me crazy that I moved back into the hood. Like they like, what you doing? So
You're effectively changing your community.
Right. A lot of us, we gone, you know? And all these people understand that, like, if me and my homies would have had a positive mentor, like my job, BAM, got to Hyde Park 2 years after I graduated, right?
What's BAM?
Becoming a man, so I work for full time.
Okay. And
we basically have 55 to 60 young men at each school, and we do group counseling with them.
They didn't have that in my high school.
Right. So we didn't get that at Hyde Park, and Obama came all that. I was already in college. Like, where the hell did this come from?
Right.
A lot of youth are impressionable, very, very much so. Mm-hmm. But people got to understand that the street niggas are the ones that are there talking to them about what's going on. You don't have niggas investing in stocks in the hood like, hey, you tripping, shorty, give me the $500, wait a couple of months. It might be $1,800. That's not happening, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that you fall hard-headed, it's not enough for us there talking to them. And granted, a lot of you still gonna do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? It happens.
Still,
but you gotta plant them seeds.
They need the example. So, like,
you gotta
for
plant
example,
those seeds.
when I said I did martial arts, I used to train on 79th and Cottage at the time, but it was with the guys from the Nation of Islam.
Right.
Everybody likes to make fun of, these, but you always see these guys clean.
Yeah.
Always see these guys holding themselves and presenting themselves like upstanding men.
Right.
And I think that we need more of that, and it doesn't necessarily need to be tied to religion. These young cats got to be able to see some cool shit that's not from a rapper. Somebody
they need the real, bro.
Right.
Like when I was a counselor, like it was crazy because I was like 24 when I first started, and my student was like 18. You know what I'm saying? But I talked to the administration. Yeah, I had a student in town because I had to prove the administration I knew what I was talking about.
Right.
When I talked to the shorties, I might have had on the mics and a t-shirt.
Right.
Cause I want them to understand that your knowledge base can be from anywhere, everywhere, even though you're in this community, and you got options. The hard part of my job is showing the shorty what they could be.
I think the verbiage that you may have been searching for, the ability to code switch is very important, and that can be both in the vernacular, the way that we speak, depending on who we're talking to, or the way that you present yourself to the youth that you're working with. And I think that we got to be able to show how many times you've seen guys from the hood got to go to court and literally don't even have a shirt with a collar.
Yeah, I mean, I first learned how to tie through my fraternity, and I was like a junior in college. Like, just being honest. And I see like the whole debate about State 48 now, and it's kind of like everybody should have a button-up shirt, right? It's a necessity. A lot of people hate code switching because they feel like it's an aspect of being fake. But I look at it like, yeah, I know Aquaman is from underwater, but because he could walk amongst us don't mean that he can't swim still.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so, and I think, I'm gonna be honest, like when I first started working in some of these fields, I felt the need to be a little more calm and relaxed and my approach, never fake. But I do think the more comfortable I become in my field, the more I just speak my mind. And you let me go, that's on you.
Right.
It is what it is. But we gotta find ways to be comfortable in ourselves and to have things in our back pocket to do that. Like Jay-Z can do that shit now. So did LeBron. Once you create that power, it's like, what you mean I gotta shut up and dribble? No, that's how I feel.
Right.
And Jay-Z will tell, and I'm not going to the award show because this and that, because I'm straight. So it's like, yeah, we definitely gotta, unfortunately our power is coming from economics or the lack thereof. And I
don't think we lack the economics. I think we lack group economics.
I agree 1,000%. I'm very big in group economics, and that's why when we were, protesting or looting and rioting, I said, I never get mad at a person for, wanting to throw a brick. I get why we upset, but you got to be able to pick that brick up and build too, because the community, we have money as a collective.
Right.
We can buy whatever the fuck we want to buy in this city.
I think they say Black Americans alone, if we just look at spending power, would be like the 9th richest country in the world or something like that.
Because we spend it.
Right. It don't stay in the community
we
at all.
spend it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not one of us who, I mean, of course some of us are millionaires and billionaires, you know what I'm saying, very few, but as a community, we have it.
Not a question.
The issue is that it's been embedded in our minds so long like to shop with one another. I'm big on Black Wall Street, and most people believe that Black Wall Street, after the riot, it went away. That's not what happened.
Black Wall Street was one of a few.
Right. But Black Wall Street actually rebuilt after the riots. But then they was like, you know what, black people, even though we destroyed y'all businesses and y'all rebuilt, and we can let y'all come shop with us, y'all all right with us. Come spend some money with us now. So they allow us to shop in these white stores, and the thing about it, they wasn't shopping in black stores.
Right. They allowed that at the same time when you are running psychological operations on people to make them devalue their own.
And they still are.
There's all these old sayings that you'll hear from older black people, like a lot of black people believe the white man's ice is colder. Like stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? We both got an ice cube, but for some reason, because this white man has that ice cube, you want that ice. And
it's psychological for real. Right. But to your point about what we can do for more opportunity, the opportunity is there. It's just us leading them. And for example, right, like what our youth found in that power. Like now you could become famous gang members, right?
Yeah.
Like the social media is so crazy. Like Chief Keef, and I'm a big Kanye West fan, and personally, I feel like Chief Keef was the most influential rapper out of Chicago.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you, but only because I'm just under a Kanye stan. So I'm not exactly a stan. I'm just under that.
Understandable. And the reason why I say this is because the culture of how people shot video
Chief Keef changed hip hop.
to rap is like, and especially in Chicago, to the point now you got shorties in neighborhoods who have people from different countries talking about them because they're in the streets.
In the UK, like right now, we could go on YouTube and we could watch Chicago people reacting to UK drill music. That does not happen without Chief
And it's
Keef.
crazy. And in New York and UK don't want to acknowledge it. They're like, it's different. And they like their beats are different. I said, if you heard a DJ L beat, original beat, that's what the UK drill is. It's either sped up or slowed down. But I'm like, the drill culture, even the way they gang bang in different places now, is crazy. You wasn't hearing people legit naming people, naming deaths, like, and it's not something to be proud of. You highlight it,
all these things,
but it's a Chicago thing. It is what it is.
It's universal at this point.
But now we got shorties who don't even rap, who are well known in their hood because they shoot at niggas. Yeah. And they're well known in a different country because they shoot at niggas. You will see fans online like, oh, that's Wilson name. He got 6 bodies. And you will see whole documentaries and tapes talking about who shot who and when. What blew my mind from over east, when I was at Hyde Park, Drove City and the Crank was like, they was at war, right? But it's 12 years ago, right? I seen a video last week talking about this war. And in my mind, I was like, who the fuck dug this information up? Who they talk to, right? But that's how much the streets are glorified. That you got people digging up 12-year-old wars and putting it on social media because of entertainment. Part of me, I listen to drill music, I watch the video, so I understand, like, because that's the environment that I grew up in, right? But it's crazy that you got 50,000 views from 2 shorties arguing online about each other's hoods.
You now, because of your life experiences, can separate because although I know how detrimental some of this stuff is, I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't have a certain amount of entertainment value to me because I saw so much of it. I relate to a certain amount of it through experiences. Now, I would love to continue to build the way that we're building in these different things that we're talking about, but we did come here today to talk about a purpose, and I know you're a busy man. So we're definitely going to have to do more episodes with you. We're going to have you back in the studio. But before we get you out of here, I want to make sure that we talk about this event that you got coming up. So now that our listeners got a chance to know a little bit about you, your perspective, why it is that you do what you do, could you tell us a little bit about this event that we got coming up? We got about 10 minutes here as we got to wrap, and I definitely want to focus on that. Yeah.
All right. So 1865 was when it was stated that slavery ended.
Abolished.
Right. I worry like that because some of us didn't even know. Some people were still slaves, didn't even know it. Right? And then, of course, you had the prison system to come and catch everybody who was supposedly escaped slavery.
That was how the law enforcement started.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and I don't have an issue with any other cultures, right, necessarily. But my people used to go to St. Patrick's Day and go crazy, enjoy it, kicking it. Cinco de Mayo, we live it up, you know what I'm saying? Maybe not for the right reasons, but we celebrate it. Juneteenth was always like a cricket. And for at least since like 25, it's in the back of my mind, like, we had to start celebrating this, right?
Now for the listeners, because I do see where you're going, and I want to continue to let you build, but Juneteenth, just to give a little bit of backstory, and you can elaborate a little bit more if you feel the need to. And I'm not going to get into all the alternative history and the things that are left out of history, but for a common understanding, Juneteenth is when slavery was abolished. It's not like today where everything's on social media or there's a, huge printing press everywhere or, none of that exists. So if nobody tells you, you don't really have any way to know if a courier isn't bringing you a notice or a letter. So Juneteenth is supposedly, because none of us were alive, when the last of the people who were not in the know found out and, shed those shackles, correct?
Right.
Okay. And that is why Black Americans seek it out to be. I don't think there's anything wrong with St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, any of the days that we all binge drink. But what is the Black American celebration that everybody takes part in?
Exactly. And I think, as black people, we don't acknowledge how much, and I get the struggle, but only we acknowledge how much we've overcome. Like, we've been attacked from every angle, from housing to education to policing to drugs in the community. Like, we've been attacked from our government from every angle.
Our enemies have conspired
Right,
against us.
right, from every angle. Like, and we still managed to fight through all that. That deserves to be celebrated, right? So it's a community event. We have the Shot Wrangler crew that's planning it, as well as Urban Mill Network, Royalty Productions, and Feed the Block 773. These are just 4 nonprofits that are working on the event, but it's so many different nonprofits that'll be there. And
if you can pull together, a few of the organizers from each different group, we can set up another live stream closer to the event to really, maybe the weekend before, to really, help you guys kick it off and let the people see what you guys got coming up. And then, if you guys will have us Mogul Minds will, come through as media and come through and do our thing.
Definitely, because none of the organizations are keeping any money, and it's not a fundraiser for us. Every dollar we raise through funds is going back to the event. So if somebody spends $300, now I could do a face paint, or now I could do inflatables, or now I could buy more food, or now I could buy school supplies. I work, nonprofits need money, but this is not a fundraiser for us. Every dollar we get goes back to the event. And I'm very transparent, so I normally send a list like, this is what we paid for with this money. This is where the money came from, this is how much we got.
Right.
That's just how I get down. And because of that, a lot of people have helped me over the past. My youth always need something. When you work with kids in Chicago, you're going to need money.
Right.
So I have fundraisers often, and people come through. I'm struggling a little bit this time. Last year we made like $4,000 in a week. I think that's because of the hype around being black at the time. You had the George Floyd thing going on. You had the protest.
I can't remember the name of the politician, but there's a famous saying, never let a good tragedy go to waste.
Right. So during that time, like, it was easy to raise funds. Right now, I feel like everybody got PPP loans, and we feel blessed. We good. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so how about the people who didn't get the PPP loan? Bless us.
Right, because, hey, I won't mind. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think God want me to work for my money. Right. I wish my shit been paying in for 3 months. I guess it ain't meant for me. But I feel like right now, like, as a people, we got comfortable again, because ain't none of us got shot by police, and we're not in the social media or in the media realm, I guess in a day or two. Use that lightly. Right. So it's been a struggle getting donations, but people have been coming through. Right now, vending tables are $50, but if we are able to get enough money for the event, then we're going to just give our table for free. You know what I'm saying? So we can give black businesses a chance to promote themselves to black people.
And where is this event being held?
So it's at Scroom, and I probably pronounced that wrong. It's a middle school that's in the suburbs, and I make sure I give you the exact information, when you post a link and stuff like that.
And this is going to be on June 19th?
It's on June 19th.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday this year?
From 12 to 5.
Okay, so
you
June
can bring
19th.
your kids, you can come out, we're going to try to make the music as clean as possible. The shorties might leave at a certain time, but it's a community event, man. It's for us to celebrate us. So however we could, and if you want to help and whatever, like, it's not my event or the organization's event, it's our event. And we're just trying to give you a space and give you some guidelines to celebrate it.
Okay, well, I have partners that work with me on the network, obviously. When we start handing out corporate titles, I guess I'm going to be like CEO or something like that. So however we can partner for, Mogul Minds to be a part of this, for us to help, for us to, if we just show up as media, that's perfectly fine with me. If we got a table, a booth or something like that where we could pop off some of our merch, we're going to make sure that, anything outside of cost goes to you guys.
Yeah.
So that
you can never have too much media, man.
I want to help, affect my community any way possible. That's the same reason we do our back to school drives. That's the same reason, we host some of the events that we have. We help different creatives and entrepreneurs by doing business with them. They may not have the outlet to get, 60, 70 people to show up to an event. And the simple matter of fact that we can lets us profit share and lets somebody else is eating because of work that we put together. So I'm all for helping out anybody who is seeking to help community. I'm trying to make a change, and the only way that we can do that is by working together realistically. No one man ever changed the world by himself.
Malcolm X spoke on it. Community economics is key, and a part of that is the social wealth.
Right.
So, man, if you could come and talk to some of the businesses there and, shot him out and he shot you out and vice versa. Like,
we might. I'll see if we can figure out how to do a mobile live stream.
Yeah, you just need that wireless hotspot.
Yeah.
And I got one, so we'll make it work. We're gonna figure it out. The school might share the Wi-Fi with us, but I don't know how. It's a lot of schools have a lot of blocks on what you can do and what you can't do. But I'm pretty sure, man, it's 2021. I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out. And the more money we get, the more we could do. So if I could buy a hotspot for that day, that'd be dope.
And the link to the description is going to be, the link to the event is going to be in the description of this video. So some of the tickets are free, some of the tickets, depending on what people,
you
explain
can sign up. So basically right now, we have vendor packages. Like the regular vendor is $50. Then the vendor package is like, you getting like putting a text blast out there or a t-shirt. But we might scrap that. If we get some more funding, we're just going to make the tables free and give people a chance to speak about their business. Because I don't like really charging a lot of people for community events. I only charge for community events if I need that money to go back to the community. Right? Because we still got to pay for food, got to pay for DJ, pay for speakers, got to pay for porta potty, got to pay for security, which I don't really like even have security at those events either. Like I didn't have it last year, but it's not my venue. So it's things you got to have in place to make people feel safe. Because we do get out of hand sometimes, unfortunately. But yeah, you can also volunteer for setup on the link.
Okay. So people can help outside of just, not everybody can give up.
You can volunteer
funds.
for cleanup on the link. You can also volunteer to be a grill man. So we put all that on there, man, because like I said, it's a community event and I really believe in community. I believe that we have all the resources we need. I don't give a fuck about getting that shit from those other people. Like, I just don't care. I feel like everything we need, we have.
I'm with that. I'm all for doing for self, and self is community, self is us, and that's whoever. It's not necessarily a race-based thing, because what I've found is a lot of times people of different ethnic backgrounds may be more willing to help and do work with you than your own people who may look like you. And
that definitely happens.
And sometimes that's who you got to work with. And we get all that. So anybody who's interested, anybody who just has anything positive to say, anybody who has anything input, if you want to volunteer, definitely reach out. Ricky, if you could tell the people again where to find you.
Yeah, so my IG is My Vision Lives. Once again, like I'm a real person, so don't trip about some of my posts on my story. I am who I am. But yeah, anybody can follow me at MyVisionLives.
It's on screen for him.
Cool, great. So yeah, follow me, man. You can hit me with a DM. I typically respond to all messages unless you're trying to get me to sign up for a pyramid scheme. Not really my forte.
Or invitations to the Illuminati. I be getting them
right,
DMs too.
I mean, if you give me some money for the community, I might sacrifice a cat or something. No, I'm joking. but nah. So that's how you follow me on IG, man. And I got a link like of all my events on there. Okay. So what I'm starting to do is anything I invest in or anything I want to promote, I'm going to put a link on my page and share it with people. And typically people have a good time around my crowd and around my energy, because that's what life is about.
Tag Mogul Minds Network when you do these things in the comments, and the notifications are stupid on the network page, but if you tag us, we'll do our best to share it and help you raise awareness, at least, to our story, to our page. Rick, I definitely appreciate you coming through today. I think, we had a mini build, but it was a good build. I think that there's a lot of people that can relate to the things that we talked about. I think there's a lot of youth that can learn from some of the things that we talked about. So this audio live stream, the audio of this live stream is going to be up by Monday on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere people find podcasts. It'll be also on mogulminds.net. That's scrolling by at the bottom of the screen right now. It's live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to make sure to, do some marketing techniques, get it really in people's face. So you'll see these numbers really go up over the next, in between now and the actual event. So that's how I intend to help, raise awareness for this event. But like I said, I definitely want to stay in touch and figure out how we could be more hands-on help in this event. So, Rick, I definitely appreciate you coming through. You've been great. This has been Real Talk Chicago. For any of the listeners, you can always go to mogulminds.net/podcast to hear more of our podcasts, any of the ones that I referenced in this episode. And if you support us and support what we do, you can go to mogulminds.net/merch. We don't ask you to donate anything to us. Go grab some of our merch. That helps us out. That's the best way to show you support. If you can't do any of those things, just go ahead and share the video. That works for us, too. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, don't forget that live is on.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody forget.
I definitely would have walked out into the street.